red zone, let's go. C-H-I-C-A-G-O, claws up, bear down, red zone, let's go. C-H-I-C-A-G-O, claws up, bear down, red zone, let's go. C-H-I-C-A-G-O, claws up, bear down, red zone, let's go. C-H-I-C-A-G-O, claws up, bear down, red zone, let's go. C-H-I-C-A-G-O, claws up, bear down, red zone, let's go. C-H-I-C-A-G-O, claws up, bear down, red zone, let's go.
Salut, what's up, chat? Welcome back, everybody. Karl's right here with me. Karl, thanks for coming on. Always appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. King Book of World, how's it going, buddy?
Kind of whimsical last minute. I just said, hey, Karl, I'm going to be talking about this week's game. I know he was high on trading for a coach, and so I said, come on, let's chat about it since we're facing Kyle Shanahan. That's the big news this week, Bears versus Niners. So.
Yeah, rumor has it, Adam, that the winner of this game gets to keep Kyle Shanahan, so there's a lot to play for.
No trades, no picks. They just get to keep him. He gets to go with the winner, and I like that because I don't want to trade any draft picks. So I like this rumor. Let's hope it's true.
It is. It's guaranteed, as per Adam Mason. Everyone on Twitter, on the socials, make sure you know Adam Mason told you this.
It came straight from Karl. Karl's starting this rumor, but
that's slander.
Now
that's
this
slander.
is how he shifts the blame off to me when he starts these rumors that are so beautiful to hear. I love it. All right,
fantastic.
Karl, you're a hoot. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate some of you guys that already jumped in the chat. I got to see if Creighton has put a Big Dex update because he always does an update of what's going on with Big Dex. But Creighton Wilfong, thanks for being here. Jeff Potter. Just going to shout some of you guys, hey, Thiant's My podcast. In fact, we should do a little shout out there. Karl. Karl's with the Thiant's My podcast. I plug him when I get an opportunity to. That's part of why I like him to come on too. It's fun. You're muted, Karl. I don't know if you know that.
I know. That was impromptu. I'm glad that you weren't able to hear what I said, but okay, it's fine.
They put a decent show on over there. Less graphics and pictures like the annoying stuff that I put on, more sports podcast chat. Good stuff if you're in your car.
Just an honest conversation, Adam. Not all of us are blessed to have the PFF subscription that some of us on this panel have. So it's more of an honest conversation. If you guys are interested, I'm trying to stay consistent to either a Saturday or maybe a Friday afternoon show. But regardless, Adam Mason's the guy.
You're the guy. It's fun to have you on. King Book of World, Creighton there, Dave S. Fire Kyle Shanahan. That's someone's got to change their name to that. That's funny. I'll be fired up the Bears game, and the Bears can have me. Let's go. Ampharius, bear down. Appreciate you guys being here.
Go blue, Ampharius. Go blue. He's a Michigan fan as well.
They're in the back. We got to make you bigger so we can show that. Oh, shifted a little bit. Go blue, FOSU. He's high on his blue. I'm high for tomorrow, man. I'm more stoked. I think a lot of people know I am a UNLV fan and alum. I graduated from UNLV. I've thrown some in my mock drafts because there are actually going to be some draft picks from UNLV this year. It's fun to watch. I'm pulling for the big upset over Boise State, and that's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people realize. We only lost
Adam,
5 last time.
Is this UNLV team as good as you've seen since like the Randall Cunningham days? I'm pretty sure.
Well, I wasn't old enough to remember the Randall Cunningham. This is the best team I've ever seen. I'm loyal too. I used to live right by the old stadium by Sam Boyd, which is a dump pile. The whole politics that went into us getting Allegiant Stadium was part of it. Was the state funded part of it, and UNLV is a state funded school. And they had to share. So it's a shared stadium. It's not just UNLV, or it's not just Raider Stadium it's a shared stadium. So it's part UNLV Stadium. And all the changes, Barry Odom being the biggest thing, bringing in a big-time coach, which, he used to be at Arkansas and Missouri, and now he's changed our whole program.
I'm sorry. I just had a smooth brain moment. I absolutely watched the UNLV versus Boise State game, and that was at the Las Vegas Raiders Stadium. But that's where every single UNLV game at home is played?
Yeah, it's a shared stadium.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's been getting the new stadium and getting Barry Odom are the two biggest changes, and we've been dominant. Last year we won 9 games. This year we've won 10 games. It's just a completely different program. It's so much fun to watch changes. All right, Charlie, we're getting there. We're just having a little fun with Karl on the show. We're 5 minutes in. We'll start the Bears talk. All right. Oh, but first, Creighton, breaking news. Big Dex was on a rampage, tipping over lockers, and in a moment of clarity said, "We're going to unleash the dogs of war." Love it.
So Creighton, if Gervon Dexter is Big Dex, what does that make Zach Pickens? Is he Little Zach? Because that would be ideal.
Little Zach is acting like Little Zach this year. I'm not high on Zach Pickens at all.
Same.
Find a new team.
Same.
All right, we'll get into the Bears content for Charlie. Charlie wants us to talk about Bears, and I understandably know why. This is the Bears preview video. So here we are, Bears versus Niners. The headline of this game is Thomas Brown, interim head coach, his first job, his first game as the head coach of the Chicago Bears, his first gig as a coach, even if it is an interim basis. And Kyle Shanahan, the rumors running rampant from both Niners fans and Bears fans that we want to go out and get Kyle Shanahan. And two very opposing sides. If you look on the left, this is from Niners Nation. I'll just read the top one there. Kyle Shanahan runs his star players into the ground. He's been doing it for years, but nobody cared because they were winning games. Latest example, he didn't ease CMC back into things post-injury. He got thrust in 95% plus snap counts immediately, and now he's hurt again. And if you go through all these, this is from a couple days ago. It's even heated up since then. Niners fans are upset with Kyle Shanahan. Some of them are delusional enough and stupid. This is what happens when fan bases get drunk off a little bit of success. Bears fans would do anything to go to a couple Super Bowls, even if we lost them. Now, we wouldn't want to lose, obviously, but Niners fans have been there, and now they're mad at their head coach, while Bears fans are clamoring and wanting anything to be able to get Kyle Shanahan. Some of them willing. I'm not willing to trade draft picks. I'm just not there. Some of them willing to trade draft picks, a first and a second, possibly 2 seconds, according to ESPN's mock on the situation. They said we'd have to give up a first and 2 seconds. Some of them willing to give that up to get Kyle Shanahan. But the reality is that would be a huge – the Bears have lacked a dominant coach, and Kyle Shanahan is that type of dominant coach. Karl, what do you think about us going –
Let me – go ahead, finish.
No, going after coach, going after this situation. Oh, I took you off. I didn't mean to. Try to make it like that. Going after Coach Shanahan or Sean McVay or a coach that we'd have to trade for. What are your thoughts on that?
Not my finest work here, Adam, but throw that head coach trade slide up on the screen just real quick.
Head coach
trades. I believe it's a slide that I'm sharing. I'm not sure if you can see it. I'm presenting
right here. I see it now. Gotcha. There you go.
So I don't know if that's comprehensive. I think it is. And obviously that's not a lot of names, but just look at the names. These are the head coaches that we're talking about being acquired via trade. Sean Payton, Bill Belichick, John Gruden, Bruce Arians, Bill Parcells, even Mike Holmgren and Herm Edwards are sneaky good head coaches, right? They're not like the superstar Hall of Famers like Bill and both Bills are. But all I'm saying is that I think that the hardest thing to do in sports is to get the head coach right. So to get the quarterback right. So the Chicago Bears, in my opinion, have done that. I believe Caleb Williams today, top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I think he's that darn good. So why mess around and peter around with the Ben Johnson experiment or see if Mike Vrabel can mesh with the McCaskey family? Just go out and do the thing. Sure, it's going to hurt in the moment, but for 10, 15 years of continuity at the head coach position and guaranteed success, essentially, I think that that's a really fair price to pay.
A first and 2 seconds. You would pay a first and 2 seconds?
Hey, man, if it takes 2 firsts plus to get Sean McVay, that's what I want. Now, but Kyle Shanahan, when there's smoke, there's fire. We're obviously seeing both sides of the coin. I think that Kyle Shanahan could potentially be had for free. It's probably not going to happen. But if there's a chance to get him, let's do it. We just saw the clip of him talking about Caleb Williams as well, right? Any coach could just go out and say a little tiny thing, but he seems to like Caleb Williams, and that excites me.
Yeah, he pumped him up big time. I mean, he could have given a very simple answer, but when they asked him in the press conference, he elaborated, and he made it makes it sound like Caleb is a ascending star, essentially. But what has handicapped us for the last 5 years? Bad trades and no first-round picks. That is what we've complained over. We haven't had these superstar blue-chip players. Now we get 2 in 1 draft, and we're set up for the next couple years, especially with this year's class, that we have – 3. I agree, 3. But we have – on Twitter, we went back and forth that we got 3 blue-chippers when you throw in Torrey Taylor. But now we have in this year's draft class, I did a defensive tackle video. I'm almost ready to put out the defensive end video. And this year's defensive end class, it is absolutely nuts. I mean, so we're going to trade away a first and a second and another second. And we're going to give some of that away when you can get solid defensive ends in the second round this year.
So that's the thing, Adam. The first round pick that went to to the Saints in the trade for Sean McVay, that ended up being like a Brian Bresee, essentially, in my opinion, what is an irrelevant role player on your defensive line. If you're giving up a top 15 pick, that's a whole different story. So it's not going to be 2 1s like I insinuated. But again, the idea is to not mess around. Get the success. You don't have to play the experiment game. Just go out and get what you need. And you already have the talent at the most important position in sports. Finish the deal.
Yeah, but look at we've had the best quarterback, and then look what happens when you don't have the right coach. I mean, for people saying
when have the Bears had the best quarterback?
Well, I'm saying we have one of the best quarterbacks right now. And look what's happened in the last 3, 4, even back to Washington game, when you don't have the right coach. Like you're saying, quarterback's the most important position. You've got it. You've got this guy leading us down at the end of games, putting us in position, actually winning the games. And then coach, I mean, it's blatant. That's the reason he was fired. Coach has lost these games. We should be at least 6-6, but it should be 8-4. I mean, we could be 8-4 right now.
Yeah, essentially, like 4 plays away from 4 added victories. So
yeah, and we have a plus point differential. We're 4-8, and we have a plus 5 point differential.
I don't know how often that happens. It doesn't seem like that happens very often.
At this point in the season, not very often. I mean, it's wild. So coaching is clearly a problem, but at the same time, our defensive line, I think people are finally starting to realize how decimated and terrible it is. Like we have Montez Sweat and we have Gervon Dexter, and that's it. That is it. There's nobody else. People are going to say Big Bill. Big Bill sucks against the run this year. His pass rush has been better. It's been terrible this year. I can show that.
Well, all I will say regarding that is the eye test tells me the second that Andrew Billings went on IR and Zach Pickens was asked to essentially fill in, the Bears' defense and run defense specifically has gotten much worse.
Well, this is what I'm saying. We have Big Bill should be a backup. I'm not saying we get rid of him. His $3 million contract is great for a backup. Yeah. But for a starter, he wasn't even a starter. We've had problems all year with the run. He got a little more pressure than normal, but we're so used to garbage on the defensive line. And now this year we have an opportunity with a first and 2 seconds and a third in a draft where defensive tackle and defensive end is stacked. We can get one of each, and we can still get a guard and a backup tackle or a center to develop. Like we have so many options. And
the exciting thing, I believe it's at least, or I think it's close to, the Bears have 4 picks in the top 75 as things stand currently. Yep. And then if Ian Cunningham gets his GM job, like Bears fans anticipate happening, that's another 2 third-round picks added to the end of the third round? 1
this year and 1 next year. They set them. So it'd be roughly a top 100 pick, right around 99 to 100. But now, still.
What I will say regarding the draft, and I feel like you're a little bit more in tune to this than I am, I have heard that it's not very top-heavy. There's not a lot of elite talent, but I don't know about the depth. So I don't know.
Every year it's like this, and we can go into, this isn't a draft video, so I'm going to be
short. I apologize.
No, you're fine. But because a lot of people are interested in this right now, I'll address it right now. At certain positions, just like every other year, at certain positions, the draft is heavy at certain positions. Wide receiver last year was huge. Next year, offensive line is going to be a lot better than this year, but this year is the defensive line year. This year is the defensive end, especially. Last year, for example, this will be quick, guys. I know we're getting into draft stuff, but it's supposed to be more of a Bears preview video. I'll put this on the screen so people at stage. People aren't confused that we're just going into draft. But this year compared to last year, the defensive ends in last year's draft, you pick Austin Booker. There's a reason Austin Booker came to the Bears a year early. He knew what was coming in this next draft. So he should have sat and developed. And I don't dislike Booker. He's the worst defensive end on our team right now, even worse than Dominique Robinson. That's saying a lot, but they're going to give him reps.
How dare you say that?
They want him to develop. But we knew this year for him, he was overdrafted, but he was 240 pounds. And last year's draft, and I'm going to break it down in my defensive end video, last year's draft, most of these guys were between 240 and 260 pounds. This year's draft is so overloaded with these big monster defensive ends that are going to come into the league and dominate right off the bat. I mean, in the first 3 rounds, there should have at least 25 to 30 defensive ends taken. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, and that's how it's projected too. And there's boys that are 270, 280, 260 constantly. All these guys are just monsters right now in college. They're big boys that are going to, and they're quick.
Man, your chat has a very good asphyxiation for you, but they're also funny as heck, man. B Shep 23. That's a nice comment. I like that one. That's funny.
Is Austin Booker related to
No.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't check the chat out as much when I'm getting rolling. It is pretty good. There's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, that's what I also wanted to say too. The Slim Pickens comment, that's perfect compared to Big Dex and Slim Pickens, man.
And you know what? I love one thing I do love about Big Dex is the work he put in this last offseason was absolutely admirable. I would love to see some guys like Zach Pickens, who's going to be on the last year of his rookie contract, go put in the work and prove himself. Kieran Amagaji, who was developmental, and we knew that coming into this year, coming off injury, he's got to put the work in to get his base. I mean, go hit the squat machine every day, fix your injury, come back with an absolute base, and come in and compete with Braxton Jones. It's Braxton Jones' final year on his rookie contract, who's having a good year, by the way. But if Kieran Amagaji comes back and he's freaking beefed like Big Dex did, make yourself a presence in this league. It's not college anymore. You're not just getting by. Like, come and prove yourself and put the work in. I want these young rookies to say, I'm going to make myself a freaking presence in the league, and I'm going to be the man. I got to look at some of these chats. I like Charlie. I'll tell you that much.
Charlie likes you, man. The king of. You should rename yourself the King of Knowledge.
I don't want to normally.
What is? Whoa, Charlie! You see, are we crossing the line, buddy?
Oh, what, Creighton? You got to help us in the chat here. When did you meet Walter Nolan? Most of the people have seen. Whoa, Charlie, back off, buddy. Creighton, when did you meet Walter? I want to hear the news on this because most who have seen my my mock drafts. Sorry, brain fart.
So is Walter Nolan a college player right now? Looks like he's on Ole Miss.
I'm giving you the glare down because you haven't been watching my.
Hey man, I saw Adam. I'm sorry.
Walter Nolan's one of my favorite defensive tackles to come out in this draft, and I think he's who we should target with where we're at. We should trade down because, like, get back to your original question. Top heavy. There's some big blue chip, very top heavy. Really, only one for the Bears needs though, and that's Mason Graham. I mean, that's blue chip. But after the first top 8-ish, if we're sitting somewhere between 10 and 15, I absolutely think we should trade back because of our needs at defensive tackle and defensive end. Pick up another second rounder, have 3 second rounders, and stack with the middle. Because the second round 2 and 3 is going to be absolutely plentiful. I mean,
now, Cliff Victoria in the chat is speaking my language. And I know we need to move on to the actual Bears preview. My initial thoughts regarding the draft, or what I initially heard, was quite simply that it wasn't just the defensive line, but the trenches in general. A lot of good defensive linemen, got a lot of good offensive linemen, which is good for the Bears.
Not a lot, a couple. There's some really good developmental offensive linemen. But center is thin. Tackle is thin. A couple really good tackles at the top. A couple really good ones, but then thin, developmental as you get later on. Guards, kind of in the middle. No huge blue chip ones, but then a lot of really good ones in the middle, and which is right where the Bears fit. So
perfect.
Right, we'll get off of the draft chat. We'll do a whole nother video in the season.
Amen.
Karl and I will chat. All I'm going to say about this, Cliff, I can't get on board with this at all. I know Karl's 100% on board.
Is this the UNLV bias?
It's not. I watched him play in person. To me, and I've said this on Twitter, he is this year's Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny came from San Diego State, Mountain West as well. His stats were actually better than Ashton Genty's, but there was a better Heisman class that year. That's the year Baker Mayfield won the Heisman. Jonathan Taylor was in that draft. There were several running backs that were beasts. Ashton Genty was held under 4 points to UNLV, or 4 yards per carry to UNLV, who is a Mountain West school. Put Ashton Genty in the SEC, put him in the Big Ten, and he would not look like he's looking like in the Mountain West. I'm going to stick to that gun. There's better. If we picked Ashton Genty in the 4th round, 3rd round, I'd be fine with it, as with any running back pick. But in my opinion, there's actually better running backs in this draft, such as the Iowa running back. Even a couple others that I really like. I'm going to do a video on each position as we go along, but I can't get on board with the Ashton Genty thing. I can't justify picking a 1st round running back. Can't do it.
We shall see. We shall see. Like I told you on Twitter, Adam, if Ashton Genty slides all the way down and finds his way to being drafted to Jim Harbaugh's Los Angeles Chargers, forget about it, man. That's going to be a good season for him.
Ashton Genty will get drafted somewhere, and we'll see if I'm right next year. I think he'll be an average to above average. He'll do fine for a team.
I'll take that.
He'll be a Rashad Penny. He'll get 900 yards, 800 yards, but he's not a first-round difference maker for the Bears. I can't get on board with that at all. All right, let's get into this, Karl. We're 20 minutes in. You get me distracted. You guys in chat get me distracted. I love all of you guys.
Chat's the best. You guys are the best, man.
All right, real quick on this one, though. Is Mason Graham like Grady Jarrett level defensive tackle? I think Mason Graham is Mason Graham defensive tackle level. And I don't mean that facetious. I really do think Mason Graham is a day one impact difference maker on both run defense and pass rush. Like he is a really special blue chip defensive tackle.
Timothy, go back and watch the tape right up here. Michigan versus Ohio State. Ohio State had all their juniors come back, bypass the NFL draft to play as seniors to beat Michigan at home, and they lost. And Mason Graham played a huge part on that. If he makes his way to the Bears, I would be head over heels. Head over heels.
You would be head over heels if we wasted a first rounder on a running back. Would you be head over heels?
I mean, it depends on where we're drafting, right? If it's like in the top 10, it'd feel pretty bad. But
all right, I'll tell you this: if we traded down with the Chiefs or with, let's say the Lions win the Super Bowl, and we trade all the way to 32. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. But let's say
he's never going to reach there.
Okay, let's say this is where he should go. Is late for. Let's say we trade down there and we pick up 2 additional first rounders and another second rounder because you're trading that far down. I'm okay with trading him. Go ahead and go get him. That's fine. I'll accept that if we get that much capital to trade down for him.
Gonna have to make a YouTube shorts out of this, Adam. We shall see. We shall see.
All right, let's get back to this. This is what reminds me. I'm just sharing with you guys. Oh, I got to pull it out here. I went to the very first game. Whoa, in Levi Stadium. That felt like Wayne's World right there. What I just did. I went to
World.
Excellent. Party on. So I went to the very first game that happened in Levi Stadium. This is actually from where I was sitting at the very top of the lower bowl. And I was there for when the Bears came back down 17 and we beat the 49ers 28-20. We were down 17 in that game. We were down 20-3. No, we were down 20-7. What was the score? I don't remember. This is a long time ago. This is a decade ago. This is in 2014. So I was there for the game. Brandon Marshall had 3 touchdowns. It was electric. And I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if it's changed, but Niners fans at that game were actually really, really cool. My brother was supposed to go with me. He ended up not being able to. He had something with one of his daughters happen. I flew out by myself. I was, it always sucks to go to a game by yourself, but I did it. I was going anyways. Went to the game, and Niners fans all around me. We had a blast the whole game. They were actually really cool. I had a really good time with Niners fans today.
Now, the Los Angeles Rams, their fans would tell you that 49ers fans are not cool because they take over that stadium, and I see some crazy things happen, but we're talking 10 years later, so.
I'm always afraid of I've been to some big Cubs games in Chavez Ravine in LA, and that I'll tell you, sorry if any of you are Dodgers fans, but there's no more despicable fan on earth than a Dodgers fan in Dodger Stadium. It was bad.
I'll have to take your word on that. I love that comment from Timothy, by the way.
I'm glad you're here. A bum like Crabtree. And I'm sorry for the stuff that I miss here, guys. I do overlook a lot because I get rolling on chatting.
The fans love you, Adam. Don't change.
I gotta throw this in there because I was actually I don't ever watch him.
Yeah.
I don't watch him, but I tuned in just for a minute today, and the stuff he was spouting about draft picks and the stuff he was saying is like the biggest misinformation. He doesn't do his own. Anyways.
Harrison Graham, the YouTube version of Eric Lambier. I hope you guys appreciate that comment.
I appreciate that comment a lot.
Again, this is all on the Adam Mason show, so I'm clean of any kickback.
You're clean. All right, so here's where we stand as we roll into this game. It's ugly. You see all those L's in a row from line 2 down to line 3. 6 losses in a row. Even Caleb talked
I haven't seen any edits of Matt Eberflus's name, like with L's rolling or anything.
Eberflus.
Yeah.
The Flus is gone. All those L's are gone. They're still here, and Caleb yesterday in his press conference addressed it, and he just said it's a learning experience. You know, he's trying to, and you can hear the undertone of they're not going to talk about it, but I'm going to hold on to hope. These guys are motivated to win these last 5 games. I can promise you that. They are motivated. They feel the direction. They feel the motivation from Thomas Brown. And as we talked about Shanahan for just a moment there, I'll tell you one thing that's going to disrupt any other coach having a shot is if we do run out these last 5 games. Improbable as it is, not likely to happen. But when you think about that, we lost to the Vikings in the last second. We lost to the Lions in the last second. We lost to the Packers in the last second. We were in on every one of those games. The Niners are decimated. They're down both their star running backs. Now, Isaac Guerrero as a backup is a solid backup. So they're not in like complete hell. Like we traded away Khalil Herbert and we don't have anybody now, possibly this week. We'll get into that. But it's possible to run this table. Now, the Niners are still fighting for the playoffs. All 3 of our division foes are fighting for playoff position, and the Seahawks are fighting for the playoffs. So all 5 of these teams are motivated, but it's possible. It's possible to run this table. And if we do, there is 0 chance, none, that we don't at least run it back 1 year with Thomas Brown. He'll have the locker room. He will have the fan base. And he'll have – I mean, you cannot fire the guy that just went 5-0 after losing 6 straight games. Can you?
So my stipulation on Thomas Brown returning as the Chicago Bears head coach next year was always you've got to go at least positive, so 3-2.
3-2. I think.
And the McCaskey families really value that win against the Packers, right? So 3-2 with a win against the Packers, that have to be a given. But I also think the most important thing, circle back to Caleb Williams. You've got to find a way to get Caleb Williams back into that Rookie of the Year conversation. I think what Bo Nix is doing with the great Sean Payton, who was traded for, by the way, Adam Mason, I don't think there's any way that Caleb can win this competition anymore. Get him back into the conversation with Rookie of the Year. Really make it like an interesting choice for the voters, right? He needs to play better than what he's playing. And again, we're 4 plays away from 4 added victories. Sometimes wins are not a quarterback stat, but if he has those extra 4 wins, you're talking about, comeback Caleb. So
yeah. If we were sitting 8-4, he would be in all those conversations. There's a lot of bias against him because of the quarterback win-loss record, which clearly in these instances he has played winning quarterback play. So it's not fair to him. But if Thomas Brown can lead us to those, especially the Pack, you're right on, especially the Packers win. If we beat the Packers, that goes a long ways for him to retain this job, 100%.
The cool thing with Thomas Brown, in my opinion, a lot of the media and the fan base that I've seen really fell in love with Thomas Brown because of his speaking. And I wasn't so fast to crown him, right? I wasn't even thinking that he could be a good offensive coordinator going into next year because the output he had in his first game was not like knock your socks off, right? But I think that his best attribute is, ironically, I don't know if you like this term or not, I'm sick of it already, but the leader of men term. Yeah, that's what Thomas Brown is. He's good at public speaking, and I feel like that's actually better suited in the head coaching role because he's able to galvanize the whole football team, right? Not just
he's also got
the offense.
The smug arrogance like Mike Tomlin. That's the comment everyone says, and you're just saying that because they're both black or this or that. No, it's that smug arrogance and being straight honest. Like I'm going to be brutally honest and leader of men. I do hate the leader of men comment because Matt Eberflus was technically a leader of men when they were talking about him too.
I don't know about that.
But that's what they said 3 years ago. That is what they said. They said he's a leader of men. Now, I don't think
maybe they shoehorned that in because they wanted the offensive coach, but I don't know. It's apples to oranges when you're talking about who's a leader of men between Matt Eberflus and Thomas Brown.
Oh, I got to put this one up there because this is 100% true. This is one thing I want to see from Thomas Brown too. With him actually taking over the offense and working with Chris Beatty as the offensive coordinator, how are we going to start games? That's one big thing I want to see these next 5 games is, are we going to start different? Was it Matt Eberflus holding this team back with the way that they play called and designed the beginning of these games? And Thomas Brown clearly knew how to lead us to another 100-yard passing a game and come back in games. How are we going to start games off? I want to see these first quarters of these games go completely different, 100%.
Yeah, and again, I think that the Bears, structurally, the way that their team has been composed, right? I've always felt that the Chicago Bears have one of, if not the best secondaries in the entire NFL. So instead of having to rely on stopping the run and then chipping away, I don't know which game it was. I think it may have been the commentators talking about the Lions. Imagine you give that Bears secondary a 14-point advantage, and they have to throw the football. Even if you're not getting home, Montez Sweat's hurt, Austin Booker's having a down year as a rookie, we don't have the best pass rush, I still think that secondary would feast.
Well, this is the biggest reason our secondary is sucking this year. This is why Tyreek Stevenson is not doing as well.
Statistically, we are not sucking, but we are falling pretty fast.
Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson are sucking compared to how they were last year. Now,
maybe
Tyreek
PFF says that. My favorite statistic for you, Adam.
No, PFF.
EPA per DB, expected points added per dropback. When I, from a non-technical standpoint, look at the best secondaries and the best defenses, the list that's comprised, I'll try and get it on the screen if you want. It matches what the eye test says, and that's why I value this statistic, and I talk about it often.
The difference maker this year is Terrell Smith, though. Even the eye test says Terrell Smith is the difference.
Oh, absolutely. I was the very first one, I'd like to say, that asked for Tyreek Stevenson to be benched after he told the fans to suck it where the sun doesn't shine in the middle of a live play. And I said, you have to reprimand him regardless of anything. But the good point of that is that there's not a lot of downside. Terrell Smith is not far and away worse than Tyreek Stevenson. And if you're telling me he's better, I don't doubt that.
Yeah, I was actually calling before that play happened for Terrell Smith to get more action because he's played better. Tyreek Stevenson's he's hip to hip with defenders. Tyreek Stevenson or Terrell Smith is. Tyreek Stevenson, his separation rates this year are just abysmal. They're so bad. So bad. All right, we got to get back to this. Let's get to the injury report. We're going to get into all this, guys. We're going to get it all done. Having Karl here distracts me because he's so easy to talk to and have fun chatting.
Don't point that finger at me, Adam.
It's all your fault. Here's last week's injury report. We only had two on the injury report. This week doesn't look nearly as good. It looks scary. I don't like it at all. I'm afraid of it. It makes me afraid for this game. After the mini-bye, too, we had 10 days to get healthy. What are we doing, guys?
A lot of concussions you can't do too much about, but the two that point out to me very obvious are DJ Moore and DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, DJ Moore not practicing because of his quad. It sounds like, and Thomas Brown said all these guys are potential to come back and play for this week. The concussions, I'm going to say right now, they're probably not. Concussions, they are super careful with, just like they put Kwani on the injured reserve. We'll get to when he can come back in the next little slide or whatever we call it. Keenan Allen practiced today. That makes me feel a lot better. His ankle was feeling up to full participant. We'll see how tomorrow's is. Tomorrow really kind of sets the standard for where the weekend comes and where the game is. Ryan Bates, I don't really care if he comes back, to be honest. I think he's a wasted player this year. You show your little scrunching, but he's been terrible.
When I make my arguments on the Bears' offensive line and the injuries that they've had to deal with, I will go to the death by saying that Coleman Shelton was the second option, like it or not.
No, he wasn't. He was always meant to be the starter.
Okay, buddy.
I said that. I've said it.
I believe you, but that's my opinion.
Elijah Hicks probably not coming back this week as well from what you hear. But then everybody else has a real good shot of coming back. DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Kevin Byard, Coleman Shelton limited today, Darnell Wright, full participant. Mercedes Lewis, you can't see at the bottom. He's only being held out because he's 40 years old, and we should have never signed him.
Mercedes Lewis had the exact same designation on every single day for every single report. That's just the nature of the beast with him.
There at the bottom, this is, now I'm going to specify, I know it's really tiny on your screens, guys, but just in case DJ Moore is out, who has done a lot of runs lately, and I love the way Thomas Brown is using him because he's like a running back when he gets the ball in his hand. In case DeAndre Swift is out, Roschon Johnson is likely out with his concussion. We signed Demetric Felton to the practice squad. He was a preseason player for us. We had him on our 90-man roster. At the bottom right, those are preseason stats, 2024, 23, 22, and 21, Cleveland, and then us. And then we cut him halfway through the preseason. He went to Indy. The touchdown from this preseason was while he was with Indy. Ended up getting released by them. We've brought him back. He's on the practice squad. I would be shocked if he does not get elevated to the 53-man roster for this weekend, whether we end up using him or not.
You have to have that depth for sure. You cannot have another, it wouldn't be Kari Blasingame, but you can't have that situation like what happened on Monday Night Football against the Redskins.
Yeah. So here at the top on the right, those are the transactions from this week. We released Austin Pleasance, which kind of surprises me because our depth is a little thin on the offensive line, but the guys who have been playing has stayed fairly healthy, and we are finally healthy with our starting five. So I like that. We'll get into that very soon, how the offensive line has done, how they've done better. Kind of trying to roll through this a little bit quicker. Sorry, guys, this has been taking longer, and I'm not hitting the chat. So if you see anything in the chat there, Karl, you want to highlight, let's hit it. Let's bring it up. But on the left, these are the IR players, and I'm going to run through them real quick because people have had questions about this in some of the chat on previous videos, so I'm going to hit it real quick. Ian Wheeler was hurt in the preseason, had surgery. He was out for the entire year, regardless. Basically, a redshirt year for him to be in. You saw in Hard Knocks where Eberflus talked with him and said, basically, take advantage of learning the playbook, being here in Hallis Hall, learning from this entire year. We're excited to have you back next year. He was an undrafted free agent. We like him. I'm glad we retained him. We'll have him next year. Nasimba Webster, I didn't even expect us to retain him, but because he was injured, we basically are giving him a redshirt year as well. We basically get to bring him back for next year. We paid a minimum contract to be able to have him the entire year and bring him back on the practice squad or to compete, as some of these players might. Maybe Keenan Allen is gone. Maybe we like Nasimba Webster's development on the team. So he'll be back next year. Patrick Scales out for the season as well. Bill Murray was eligible to come back last week, the highest rated period guard, player, lineman on the Bears, but in a very limited sample. Very limited.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, and if you have a source, please tell me. But I thought that Bill Murray, I thought he tore his pec.
He did. He's eligible to come back. They're likely saying he's just going to be held out to be careful. He's not been activated and brought back yet. He was eligible to come back last week. That goes right in hand with what you're saying. It was a minor procedure, I guess is the right way to say it. Eligible, possible to come back, but it sounds like you would want to play that very careful, very safe, continue to develop him. So that's why he hasn't been back yet.
I'd have to agree.
So that's what he hasn't been brought back yet. So eligible last week, not back. Jalen Jones, really solid backup cornerback for us. In fact, I expect us to exercise an option on him when somebody makes an offer for him in the offseason, restricted free agent, so we can match what anybody else says. I expect that to happen. He's eligible to come back this week. We have not brought him back. I would assume the same thing, just trying to play it careful, let him come back.
JC1 in the chat has a very good option as far as the Bears' offensive line woes.
Right here?
But a little bit lower. Try the bottom of the chat.
Put in Peyton's stat.
But no, seriously, that comment as well that you put up prior, absolutely valid in my opinion. Anyone better than Borum at right tackle or left
anybody
tackle.
Who knows my opinion before this season, before he's been absolutely atrocious, abysmal, cost us game, not just one game, I should say games, cost us multiple games. I said before the season we should in no way, shape, or form let him hit the field again for the Bears. Last year, he was the 112th out of 114th rated tackle. This year, he is right there at the bottom again.
Yeah. Larry Borum reminds me of the offensive line version of Velus Jones Jr., but continue, please.
Yeah, he's terrible. Or as you're trying to, but even then, let's talk about DeAndre Carter. The last 2 weeks, 2 huge botches on special teams. We have not got it right. We have to find the right special teams guy this next year.
Let's just regenerate Devin Hester. We'll just get another
put
Devin Hester.
Maybe we'll put Bajan Stat in as a
returner?
Yeah.
Maybe that archetype is needed, right? Like if you know that you're so much bigger and stronger than everyone, you can be fearless, right? Just go say, I'm catching this punt and see what happens.
Hey, I'm going to say it, and I know I've been a UNLV homer on this channel, guys. I get it, but go watch Jacob.
Ooh, I was kidding.
Go watch him. Jacob, watch him this Friday. I'm locked in tomorrow night to watching the UNLV game. Boise State, UNLV, I should say both. But Jacob DeJesus is an All-American in punt returns, kick returns. Last year was like #1 in the entire nation. This year he's still at the top, but not the best this year. But I'd love to see us take a flyer on 7th rounder or undrafted free agent Jacob DeJesus. I'd love it. Absolutely love it. That's funny, Rob. There were 2 tackles worse than Borum last year.
It's almost like his profile pictures reacted to his own comment. Yeah, I mean,
it's true. There were.
How is that possible?
All right, cruising along here. I always do my keys to the game. I usually write out a long, drawn-out thing, usually revolving about Caleb getting the ball out quick, our offensive line holding up, and it is flat out, plain and simple, with the changes we've had with Eric Washington calling the plays on defense, with Thomas Brown taking over as the play caller, being on the sideline, with Chris Beatty being offensive coordinator. This is a crapshoot in my mind. So really it comes down to, can the Bears offense capitalize and dominate this game? Because the defense should do enough with the run game minimized. It's not going to be taken away against the Niners because, like I said, Isaac Garendo is still a decent option at running back, but they're limited in their role now. So now we should hold up enough on defense. I'm not worried about I think we should hold them to 20 like the Bears typically do. We should.
So this is one thing I wanted to ask you before you get going again. So the main difference between the last game that we just watched the Bears played and this game that we're about to watch them play is brand new defensive coordinator. Eric Washington, very familiar with the system, but the main difference that a lot of people were saying and seeing in preseason Mr. Eric Washington may be a little bit more willing to bring the blitz against, or I guess compared to Matt Eberflus. So I don't know if that's something that the Niners are going to struggle with. I was trying to find their IR situation. I'm pretty sure they're thin at the left, or I'm sorry, on the offensive line as well. So
you just hit a whole nother thing that I want to go off on for 15 minutes, but I'm not.
And there's another thing I want to say when we talk about the numbers as far as the points scored. We'll talk about that, but please continue.
Oh, the blitzing in a Matt Eberflus Tampa 2 system, the same thing. If I know a lot of people don't watch the upsets only pick video, and I get it for a reason. It's kind of a boring whole subject thing that I do with my buddy Brock, just picking upsets, kind of a game show type of contest thing. But we talked in there for about 15 minutes. They're frustrated in Indy because that's where Matt Eberflus came from, and Gus Bradley does the exact same thing for them now, and their fans are pissed at Gus Bradley. The lack of blitzing in this defense. If Eric Washington can do one thing for me, it's going to be blitz Jordan Love at the end of the year. Jordan Love is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league against the blitz. He can't handle his inaccuracy. When you blitz him, his whole grading is significantly reduced. And we blitz them 15% of the time.
To that point too, Adam, I love seeing the Packers fans like get into arguments on Twitter. They say Jordan Love is the best quarterback in the NFL at throwing off his back foot. You should never do that.
Well, then we can say Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in the league at throwing jump shot with 2 legs in the air down the sideline. Quarterback. I mean, it's stuff that's not supposed to happen.
Hey, it's true. It's true.
But what they do is they throw 50-50 balls because they know they have a lot of receivers that can go up for those 50-50 balls. And I wouldn't mind us doing a couple more of those for Rome Odunze. I said coming into this year, the biggest reason we draft him is because he had such a high contested catch and low drop percentage. That connection between Caleb and Rome has to get figured out because in the NFL, this isn't just college because it changes when they come in the league. In the NFL this year, Rome Odunze has a 70% contested catch rate and he has a 5% drop rate. That's exactly where we want him to be. Throw some of those Jordan Love hucks up 60 yards like they did against us at the end of the game. Make their defensive backs not know where the ball is coming. Let Rome go up and get that freaking ball. Let's throw a couple of those.
I'm going to one-up on you, okay? Especially if DJ Moore is hurt and simply cannot play. Maybe keep Keenan Allen's role identical and let Rome Odunze be the wide receiver 1 in the playbook. I've been asking for this for about 2 months now. 2 months it feels like.
There's something a little bit off there, though. There's something off between Rome and Caleb. Caleb, even when he's trying to hit him on the short routes on the outside lines, it's like he thinks Rome is bigger than he is, and he overthrows him like Jordan Love does by like 5 yards over his head. It's consistent. Caleb has been one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks on those sideline throws to Rome. And I'm not hating on Caleb, guys. I love Caleb. I think he's doing a great job.
I'll have to find some clips for you of just Rome Odunze doing these double moves. And it seems like he's wide open, and they just never look at him because they have to imagine he's not running a wide receiver 1 number route.
They're not
like the third option
for some reason. And I want more than anything during this last stretch for the two of them to get on the same page and show off this 70% contested, the wide receiver 1 routes like you're talking about. I want to see that more than anything down this final stretch. You see it with Keenan. You've seen it the last couple of games.
Yeah, and Beatty was the wide receiver coach, I believe, and now he's the offensive coordinator by name.
Well, Beatty was with DJ Moore in Maryland, and then he was with Keenan for the last 2 years with the Chargers.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, once Beatty has a more prominent say in what's happening on the offense, Keenan Allen's production spikes. I mean, it's not rocket science.
Receiver too. And,
sure, absolutely.
And Rome is new to the league. This is very common, and I've said this on the channel. I think a lot of people are starting to realize it as we talk draft stuff. Defensive backs and wide receivers have the biggest adjustment of anybody coming to the NFL. And in relation to that, quarterbacks have adjustment to make too because their wide receivers and defensive backs play different. That's why you see wide receivers, defensive backs, and quarterbacks struggle more than linemen or linebackers when they come in the league. So Rome is getting used to it, and you see him fitting a nice role, though. People crap on him, but I think he's like 6th or 7th in rookie wide receiver production.
There was a point not too long ago where he had nearly 500 yards total for the season, and he was leading the Chicago Bears in receiving yards.
Yeah. And it was like 2 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden.
So 2 things. If you want to put up the graphic that you had regarding Brandon Marshall, feel free to. Oh, this is perfect then. Leave this right here. So this is my favorite stat, since we're a stats channel here. EPA per DB, my favorite. The Bears had been first for 6-8 weeks in a row, I think, or near the top. They're obviously not too far off. They're in that like second tier, right? But they're technically sixth right now. So, again, secondary performing just as well as I would have expected. It's a shame to see them go down a little bit, and I'm honestly surprised that the Lions are that high. But the other thing I wanted to say regarding Roma Dunze, right? Mm-hmm. The game that Brandon Marshall had, 3 touchdowns in Santa Clara, war number 15. Watch out for Rome this weekend. That's all I'll say.
Watch out for Rome. There's number 15.
Same number, yeah. We'll have a number 15 repeat performance, if you will.
I like it. I want to see it. That's one of the biggest things I want to see as we head in. So let's get into the stats. Let's get into that real quick. We're rolling through here. We'll try to end this thing before an hour. Try to end it before Monday night or Thursday night football. We got plenty of time for that, but I try not to keep this too long. All right, I always do this every week. We got the Bears offense, the Niners defense, Bears offense, how it matches up. And I'm going to say right now, a lot of you guys are asking about legs in this year's draft. I am catching some of that. I wouldn't expect us to take a kicker. Cairo Santos has been consistent for us. I know we had the recent frustration. I think it's the way we used him, not getting those extra couple yards. In Chicago, in the wind, it's very difficult to be consistent. I'm not saying we don't need to go get a Brandon Aubrey, or however you say his name, in Dallas, 70-yard capability. But the fact that he hits consistent in these, especially as we hit December, and I don't think we're going to end that contract soon. We just signed the extension. I don't think it's going to happen. So
the University of Michigan is the kicker factory. We'll be seeing Jake Moody, and you'll figure out exactly how good he is, in my opinion. But Dominic Zavada, kicker for Michigan, fantastic kicker, and it looks like he's a junior. So I don't know if he's going to want to go to the draft, but if he's available, just saying.
Just saying. Maybe we take a 7th rounder with it. We'll see. All right. So as it stands now, the Bears offense 20th in points per game, or 20 points per game, 23rd in the league. 299 yards per game, 26th in the league, 109 rushing yards per game, 23rd in the league, 217 passing yards a game, 21st in the league. But more importantly, the biggest thing that we can say for our offense, Caleb does not turn the ball over. 9 turnovers on the year, and most of those are not on Caleb. 5 of them interceptions by Caleb, 1 fumble. But then you see the special teams was the last turnover that we had 2 games ago. We turned it over. DeAndre Carter, not knowing where the ball was, hit him in the leg. We turned it over. Caleb has not thrown an interception in 6.5 games, 232 attempts straight, which is a rookie quarterback record. He is breaking records. What it's going to come down to this week is how we can do against their defense. And the big news, Nick Bosa is likely out for the game. He has not practiced the last 2 games. It's up in the air still, but it looks like he won't be, and that's huge for the Bears if Nick Bosa doesn't play. He's an impact maker. He is absolutely the crux of their defense. So that's big, but they are 24th in allowing points for the game. So they do allow a lot of points, but they hold teams to yards per game, but they turn the ball over a little bit, which is the reason. And we'll get to that on offense, but we'll get that's a big reason that they have allowed so many points. You saw it last week in the snow against the Bills. So we got a good shot with our secondary to be able to get the ball from them, and then we just got to attack this defense like we have in previous weeks as well. So here is the Bears rookie record. The NFL's rookie record. So he passed Kyler Murray, who had 211 straight consecutive passes without an interception. CJ Stroud had 191. He's 3rd on this list. And you just looked it up, Carl. The NFL record, which we're not close to, is Aaron Rodgers.
402 straight passes without an interception, unfortunately, by Aaron Rodgers. And I'm scrambling right now, right? Caleb Williams, up to this point in the season, has thrown 411 attempts. Put that into perspective. Imagine Caleb not throwing an interception up to this point. That's what Aaron Rodgers did. That's insane. But 411 attempts divided by how many games have we played? Are we 4-8? So 12 games. So that's 34 per game. He's not going to get there this year.
Well, he's basically done something close to that, though, because if you remember the first 2 losses we had against the Colts and the Texans, is that who it was?
Yeah.
Week 2 and 3, wherever the opponents
Texans
were.
first and then Colts.
Okay, 2 interceptions in each of those 2 games. Since then, he's only had 1 interception.
Right.
So since week 3, the last 9 games, he's only had 1 interception in 9 games.
So if you take Caleb's average of total attempts 411, and divide that by 12 games, you're looking at 34.25. And if you multiply that by 5, you're looking at about 171, 172 attempts maybe for the rest of the year. So that'd put him close if he didn't throw an interception the rest of the year. But again, I want to see more down the field to Rome.
Yeah, I'm okay with him throwing a pick if it means that he's taking some of these big shots to Rome. And
exactly.
I'm okay with it. I really am.
Yeah.
He's done very good at protecting the ball.
We're not winning the Super Bowl this year, guys. Let's have the quarterback ball out. Sling the rock.
You guys are still talking about kickers over here. 2 years ago, we had problems with making extra points. Every kicker goes through some struggles. Jay Cutler threw 9 interceptions in 2 games. Man, we got a lot of memories going on in the chat.
Man, I got to show you this tweet. I had a crazy Pro Bowl tweet that I'll see if I can send you in the private.
Okay, while you look for that, I'm going to hurry and show the Bears defense against the Niners offense. The Bears defense tied for 6th in the league at taking the ball away, and the Niners offense is 26th in the league at turning it up. So they aren't doing 26 is bad when you're turning the ball over. So they've turned it over 19 times. The Bears have taken away 19 times. Our yards per game is going up. Our passing yards per game is going up. We're 11th in the league now at passing yards per game because of Caleb. I got to look here. The Niners defense has been really good, but again, they're without Nick Bosa. So let's see what you got here, Karl.
Imagine a Bears game where we win, and that's the stat line from your quarterback. 6 of 19, 34 yards, and 3 interceptions. And Brad Johnson throwing 4 interceptions on 26 attempts.
Oh, what year is this? This is from
This is the year that they won the division, I believe. So 2005 was the first one. It's 05 or 06. But I voted for Grossman for the Pro Bowl, so.
There you go. All right, talking about Caleb and his records. If he throws for 277 yards per game the rest of the season, he will break 4,000. That's the big news everyone wants to see. But right now, with the changes that Thomas Brown has brought in, if he throws on pace with what he's done with Thomas Brown, he's on pace for 3,900 yards. So if he keeps that up, he'll be on pace for 3,900 yards. He's already broken the Bears rookie record. If you see there with the R, the 2193 on the first, whatever you call that, gauge, scale, whatever it is. 2193 was the Bears rookie record. 2612 is where he stands now. He's on pace for 3,700. Like I said, if he keeps doing what he's done with Thomas Brown, he's on pace for 3,900. How did we get one of these guys?
Bye-bye.
See you later. Oh, I put him in timeout.
You know what, Adam? Take that as a compliment. I think that you should view that as a sign of success.
that the spam is in the chat.
You're relevant enough to warrant that. So
I like you being here, Karl. You're fun. The Bears' record for any quarterback they've ever had was 38. Hey, I actually want to hit this. I saw this in the corner of my eyes. I think we should do this 100%. Karl's not going to agree with me, but I think we should do it. He's on the last year of his contract next year. And if some team needs a quarterback, when it's not a rich quarterback class next year, there will be 3 or 4 really good ones coming out.
I'm so sorry. I thought Tony Moy was saying that Ryan Poles will trade for Tyson Bagent.
Oh, no,
I thought he was insulting Ryan Poles.
If we can get high enough, if we can get a third rounder, I'd take a third rounder.
He had such high stock in the preseason. I thought that the Raiders would be so desperate. They'd felt like they were so bought in with Adams in the beginning of the year. I thought we could get a second. But,
well, the problem is Bears fans see Tyson Bagent better than the rest of the league does.
Absolutely. Just like I view Caleb Williams as a top 10 quarterback, which admittedly he probably isn't. That's just how things happen.
According to potential, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
All right, so Bears record's 38-38. Either way, Caleb's going to be real close to beating that. He should be close to beating it this year. For touchdowns, he's probably not going to beat the 30 touchdown mark that everyone wants to see. No Bears quarterback has ever thrown for 30 touchdowns. We're probably not going to get it. So there we are. Here's where we are for the chase for 1,000 yards. You mentioned it earlier. Rome's at 543. DJ's at 663. Cole Kmet's at 448. And Keenan Allen's at 441. You can see they're all on pace for less than 1,000. DJ, if he continues to play, is the best potential. He's on pace for 939. Rome's on pace for 769. But I'd like to see Rome break it. I'd like to see it happen. So... all right, we're almost done here. I want to get to the line, and then we're going to wrap some things up. Here's the line, how they've been doing. They're now at 18th, which is a come up completely. They are really improving. I didn't put week 13 here. I should have, but we were ranked 3rd in week 13, week 12. And here's the big thing, and I'm going to hit this hard because I think people are finally starting to come around to it. I've been preaching it all year. This line is not trash. We don't have a terrible line. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to upset a lot of people, and I've looked into it. Caleb is responsible for 1/2 of the sacks that we've taken this year. Everyone likes to say 49 sacks, and it's terrible. Caleb's responsible for half of those. That is
now,
not
Adam,
uncommon for a rookie quarterback, though. Go ahead.
Let me give you a caveman approach to this graphic. How can we be talking about the best offensive lines without the Detroit Lions? Am I missing something here?
Well, this is the last 3 weeks. The past 3 weeks. This is as we played our divisional opponents, some of the best ones in the league, according to people, the Vikings, the Packers, the Lions. The last 3 weeks, here is our pass blocking efficiency. The Bears are at number 8. So we've been doing very well.
That's a good metric, and I honestly, genuinely think that that's fair. I know PFF said that our bookend tackles did not give up a pressure this past week. Obviously, Larry Borom, gave up the important sack or two. But again, I don't know how we can be talking about the best offensive lines in any capacity here without the Lions.
Well, they haven't had the best last couple weeks. One of those reasons is because we faced them. Anyways, on the right there, this is the weeks as we've gotten healthy. There's the big thing. Braxton Jones, week 11, really solid. 12 and 13, good and good. Tevin Jenkins was still out week 11, but then week 12, week 13. Tevin did have his worst game of the year in week 13. But then Coleman Shelton, consistency, 65s and above every week. Matt Pryor, really, really good last week. He really was good. And Darnell Wright continuing to improve. I was trashing on Darnell Wright to start the season.
Oh, boy.
He did not look like a top 10 tackle.
Oh, boy.
A top 10 pick in the league. I was frustrated. I wanted him to improve, and I was patient. I said, there's still time to develop. I'm not giving up on him, but I am not happy right now. Well, he's come full circle since he's gotten healthy, and these last 3 weeks have been some of his best weeks in the league.
Yeah,
really, really good.
Darnell Wright reminds me of a DJ Moore in the sense that they've been playing hurt without being on the injury report. But now Darnell Wright's injuries are literally coming to fruition. I think he literally got carted off this past game with a knee injury, and he's on the report. But kid's tough. I'm very happy that he's a member of the Chicago Bear.
It sounds like he's going to come back. In fact, let's hurry and go.
I think he's going to play this week.
Yeah, it sounds like he will. Let me go back to the injury report real quick. Let me find that really fast. We'll put it back on. So there's the injury report, Darnell Wright at the bottom. Full participant today. So that's a very good sign.
Again, after being carted off with a knee injury, the kid's a trooper.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful, especially since he played so well the last 3 weeks, and he's been improving every week. Let's put this back on. I had to find the right one. So as far as depth, I completely agree. I'm not trying to say we don't draft offensive line. Our starters are good. I absolutely want Coleman Shelton to be re-signed to a minimal contract, maybe 2 years. He is getting older. But this is not a draft-heavy class for center, and there's really not big names out there. In fact, if you guys watched the video I did with Brock, the Colts fan, some people have brought up Ryan Kelly, who's a 4-time Pro Bowler, 2 years older than Coleman Shelton, and Coleman Shelton is a top 10 center in the league this year. Ryan Kelly is being beat out by Tanner Bortolini, I think, a guy we talked about maybe drafting in the 4th or 5th round last year in pre-draft videos, and they drafted him in the 4th round. High for me, but what I thought, but he's playing very well. I think he's 13th in the league right now for all centers. Zach Frazier would have been the dream. I get it. I agree. He's like top 5 center this year. Would have been fun, but we didn't do it. What the heck is going on? See you later, all game, blah, blah, blah. So I'm happy with Coleman Shelton. I've praised him all year. I've been kind of leading the charge of saying Coleman Shelton deserves a lot more credit. I mean, there's a play where he tripped over his own player, but there are some plays where when he's had backup guards on the side of him, he hasn't done as well. He feels like he has to overcompensate. Then they pull a stunt and they go right by him. He has got pushed back a little bit on his heels. He's not the number 1 center in the NFL. I agree to that. But he's played top 10 worthy, and he's doing very well, and he's got a connection with Caleb Williams. I absolutely would love to see him re-sign for the fact of keeping continuity with Caleb.
Yes, you're taking the words out of my mouth here, Adam. The offensive line, if you want to have an equation to it, it's 5 = 1. It's all about cohesion.
I mean, I'm not saying don't go out and get a Trey Smith from, and that's my number 1 thing I'd love to do. People say it's impossible.
I'd love to burst your bubble here.
They've got to re-sign Creed Humphrey. They've got other things they've got to sign. So it's not impossible. We go out and throw $24 million a year.
The last report that I heard, Adam, was that the Kansas City Chiefs are shifting the tectonic plates underneath the earth. Mahomes contract restructured. Trey Smith is going to get re-signed. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm not shocked, but I would love to see us do that.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just not all in on re-signing Tevin at this point because of the best availability or best ability is availability.
And you're seeing players like Robert Hunt get $20 million a year. And no disrespect to him, but Tevin Jenkins has the exact same potential, in my opinion. But you can't give someone that much money if you're not going to have them available to you. Yeah, so I agree. I think, unfortunately, the way that things have played out, unless Tevin Jenkins finds a way to just show out these last 5 games, I think that experiment has concluded.
I agree with you. And Farias is absolutely hitting the exact thing we're talking about. Part of that with Coleman Shelton and giving Caleb a chance in the league coming in as a rookie, that availability. He has been consistent and he hasn't been hurt. He's been staying healthy. And that's been huge for the cornerstone of this offensive line to be able to come around because they did have some struggles in the beginning of the 6-game skid right after the London game. There was, very inconsistent, but Coleman Shelton has been the consistency as well as Braxton Jones as well. Braxton was injured slightly, but not out for a long period of time. Matt Pryor, really, man. Matt Pryor this year, who is a backup. He shouldn't be a starter, but he has played like a starter this year. He really has. That's
up. What Foster on the Bears Country Productions channel has pointed out is that Coleman Shelton's career up to this point going into the season with the Bears was that he was classified as a Swiss Army knife. And we've literally seen him at tackle, guard. Again, another player I'm very happy the Bears are able to pick up.
You guys were asking about Zach Frazier, Jackson Powers-Johnson. Jackson Powers-Johnson has just not had consistency because in the beginning of the year, they had our old friend, who shall not be named, who has been fired.
Cody.
Well, no, I'm talking about Coach. Coach refused to play.
I'll go with you. Yeah, Voldemort. I'm not saying that name either.
And he who shall not be named, I think anybody who follows the channel and knows who our offensive coordinator last year should know who I'm speaking of, refused to play Jackson Powers-Johnson. And Jackson Powers-Johnson was injured for a big chunk of the first half of this year, to be fair. But they played Cody Whitehair over him. Cody Whitehair has been absolutely atrocious for them.
He literally wasn't inactive in that game. Ironically, didn't Jackson Powers-Johnson just lose a game against the Chiefs?
I don't think he lost the game.
I'm just being silly.
No, I got to hit this, though, because the whole refs thing, I'm sorry if anybody likes the Chiefs. I am vehemently rooting against the Chiefs the rest of the year for the bull crap that happens in the league. So at the end of that game, for those who didn't catch it, the Chiefs are up 19-17 on the Raiders. Okay, the Raiders are marching down. They are all but in field goal position. They are there. They need to run a couple more plays, just secure it, not do the Matt Eberflus and kick it from 58 yards because you just want to do it on second down and not get a little bit more yards. Jackson Powers-Johnson, false start, clearly false start. It's a penalty on him. He missnaps it, hits Aiden O'Connell in the chest, drops it. Chiefs jump on the ball, but it should be a false start. Well, the refs get together and they decide to call this an illegal formation penalty, which is declinable. There is no way on earth that should have been an illegal formation. But the league got together and said, let's see here. How can we make this so that the Chiefs recover that fumble? And everybody, Antonio Pierce, the players, Jackson Powers-Johnson, his reaction was classic. It's like, how do you not call this a false start? And they didn't, because a false start would have taken that play back, been 5 yards, replay the down. But they called it an illegal formation.
And even outside of that, I thought that Aiden O'Connell did something or other to essentially tip off the guard. The guard did the hand motion. They're in the silent count. And, of course, Jackson Powers-Johnson is going to snap the ball at that point. So I believe the true blame was on Aiden O'Connell. But to your point exactly as well, I mean, that sounds like... Honestly, I'm not surprised. It sounds like classic Kansas City Chiefs at this moment.
In fact, I got to find a way to pull this up real quick. Hold on.
Take your time. Take your time.
Right here. Window. This one. Let's see if I can share this properly. This. I saw this on Twitter. I had to. So the Bears on one side losing games you should win. The Chiefs on the other side winning games you should lose. Perfectly balanced. The NFL looking over.
This meme would be so much better if that NFL picture was actually Matt Nagy as Thanos. That would be so funny.
But the NFL is happy that things are in balance, that the NFL is happy because the Kansas City Chiefs are winning and the Bears are losing.
At least the Swifties are happy, that's for sure.
Oh, dear. All right, let's go back in here real quick. We got a couple left. I won't hit that one. Getting pressure is going to be important for this game. Here is where we are with the Vegas odds this week. It started at 5.5. If we look at the bottom one, the ESPN bet, the line started at 5.5. Now it's down to 4. So they say the Niners are a 4-point favorite at home. Matchup predictor has the Niners with a 61% chance of winning. Before the season started, I predicted we would lose by 1 point to the Niners. Things have changed significantly. The odds before the season were 5.5 favorite for the Niners. And now I've changed it. If you watch my weekly prediction video, I say the Bears are going to win 28-21. I really do think we have a legitimate shot to win this game. I think we should be able to come out. It's just going to be the things we don't know yet, how Thomas Brown will call the game on the sideline, how Eric Washington will call the defense. But I think with their running backs out, with how we've been playing on offense, I think there's a really good chance that we win this game.
Yeah, kind of like with Thomas Brown and the offense where you kind of had that spike from the unpredictability. We're going to get that from Eric Washington. So the 49ers are on a slide. I think the last 2 games they've played, they've only scored 20 points total. So I expect the Bears defense to put up a good performance as well.
And there is something to be said about teams rallying. Even the Raiders did it when Antonio Pierce came in last year, and they were abysmal. Yeah. It's happened this year. What was the other team that had
the Saints?
Yeah, the Saints. Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah.
They had a couple wins in a row where they fired their head coach, and then they went on a roll. There is something to say for that.
That's really, really funny comment from Rob Hansen. I hope for the sake of the health of the players that it doesn't come to that, but man.
Oops.
Rob Hansen asking if they can use Deebo Samuel as a running back. I mean, you might see it. I mean, when I look at the snap counts for the running backs, I know that you had pointed out, I believe that McCaffrey was at like 98% one game. Bears will never do that. They're more of a stable, but they're going to have a rotation with Garendo unless they run Garendo into the ground, but that would be asinine in my opinion.
They're going to have to run Garendo to the ground. I mean, they're
going to have to get creative. So maybe.
Well, who did they pick up from someone's practice squad? They signed someone from someone else's practice squad.
I got their
not a big name.
Transactions in front of me. 49ers have promoted running back Patrick Taylor Jr. to the active roster. Signed Keyshawn Vaughn to the practice squad.
There you go. Here's Karl's prediction. I asked him right before the game. There's Karl's prediction.
Yeah, I mean, the Rome Odunze / Brandon Marshall Part 2 legacy game. Let's see 3 touchdowns from Rome.
Charlie, I can't with this. I can't do this.
Now, I don't know if this was real or not, but did I see that Matt Eberflus joined the Detroit Lions staff?
I hadn't heard that.
I hope I'm not spreading misinformation. I thought I saw that on Twitter, but I don't know if it's true or not.
I'm not going to
look at the Lions website.
That is coming from Karl. Those who want to, Karl's playing this game where he makes it on my channel, so he's blaming me for stuff. That is Karl. Nobody listened to that as far as my information. That's Karl only. That's Karl information, everybody.
I'm scrambling. I've got the Detroit Lions news open.
What I do hear, which is
to watch, I'm not seeing it, man.
What is funny is you hear the Colts chat rooms. They don't like Gus Bradley. They literally want to bring Matt Eberflus back as a defensive coordinator, which I've said he was a great defensive coordinator once he got in charge of making critical decisions. He has no situational awareness. That was his big problem with us. They want to bring him back to the Colts, and I'm just like, you can have him. Take him. Go ahead. You guys can have him.
If you look at the tweets from whatever year the Bears signed him, though, 2021, the Colts fans were also very happy that he had left them.
Yeah. And the same thing with Shane Waldron. Why do we not listen to this? Jackson Smith,
yeah.
How happy he was.
I heard that the second that it was released by, again, thou who shall not be named. But I didn't believe it. I thought it was just a bunch of BS. Again, FOSU. I thought it was just the Ohio State crybaby crying, but he got the best of us. He was right.
He got the best of us. Oh, Karl, we went over an hour. I'm sorry for keeping you longer than I
Feels only like 60 seconds now. Time flies by when you're having fun.
My sorriness, but I do appreciate you coming on. The highlight of this one, it's going to be Thomas Brown and Shanahan. The winner of this game, according to Karl.
Nope, don't do it to me.
Is the winner gets to take Kyle Shanahan home. That is
going to throw that into a YouTube short. Thank you.
All right, a plug real quick here for Karl. Go check out. I'm going to put it in the description. I don't have it right now, but I'll put in his link to Thigh and Smile podcast. Go check Karl out. Of course, he's on with BCP as well. I think you guys have a show going on tonight.
Yeah, so my title I don't like doing that. But the title of myself is the producer for the Bears Country podcast, so you won't see me on the entire time. I'm not sure who our guest is today. Before I say anything, I'm going to see if I can figure that out very quickly. But if you're more interested in content from myself specifically, the Lions, my channel, is going to be trying to have a Saturday afternoon show. If it's not a Saturday, it's going to end up being a Friday. But again, less statistical, more open forum conversation. And the guest that I have on, if I'm lucky to have a guest on, it's going to end up hopefully being just more of a one-on-one. So again, more of just like an open, honest conversation. Where's our Bears Country podcast at?
And while he's looking for that, I'm going to pull this up, guys. This was one of the bigger videos I've had in a while, one that you guys enjoyed. The look at the roster moving forward, that was this last week. I'm going to put that in the description too, but the reason I'm saying that is this weekend I'm working on one just as big. It's the salary cap decisions coming up this next year, and those 4 players there are going to be the crux of those. But I'm going to go in. I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek in there. I'm going to break everything down with the salary cap. I'm going to show contracts. I'm going to show where some of the key ones stand, such as right here. This is Ryan Bates. Should we keep Ryan Bates? Should we cut Ryan Bates? I'm not going to try to give big decisions on these, but I'm going to give you guys a full recap of where every single salary cap decision plays. And that'll be out this weekend on Saturday as well. So that's coming this weekend for you guys. So
Adam Mason, a man of the people.
Little look in. These are the videos I really like doing, is the analytical stuff, the nerdy stuff. And I already did one on the roster moving forward. People seem to like that one. Whenever I have more views than I have subscribers, I think we're up to 8,300 now, guys. So with that, I'm going to say appreciate, respect. Thank you to all of you guys who tune in. I enjoy doing this. I'd like to do it more. I still have the stupid 9-to-5 job, but I like doing this on my side. I know, boo to 9-to-5s. But I'm not nearly big enough. I'm still baby age as far as my channel goes. This thing is 13 months old. But with that, having 8,300 subscribers is a huge thing that I appreciate. And so I want to say that to all you guys. I do appreciate it. Huge. Having 10,000 views on that video recently, and whenever I have more views than subscribers, it means it was a video you guys appreciated. So I appreciate that you like my nerdy analytical stuff that involves numbers and breaking that stuff down. So it's fun for me to make. So I appreciate when you guys
yeah, man, it's hard to get that stuff. And I think that the way that you not only combine it, but then, go over it in the audio form, you do a great job. And I'd say that those 8,300 are very well deserved, man.
Thanks, Karl. I appreciate that. And more important, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Thank you. Good luck with your show tonight with BCP. I will try to tune into that. I haven't been diligent because I have so much time spending on this and kids and my 9-to-5, but yeah, it's fun to tune in when you guys can't tune in. So check that out tonight. I'm going to watch Thursday Night Football right now. I want to see the Packers go down. Screw the Packers, but I'm starting to hate Lions fans just as much with how.
Yeah, man, that's a story I told someone not too long ago. So when the Bears lost to the Packers in Soldier Field in the NFC Championship game, in that Super Bowl against the Steelers, I said, you know what? I want the Packers to win simply because that means that the Bears lost to the best team in football, right? I'm still hearing about that goddamn Super Bowl from the Packers fans. So I don't care if the Lions haven't won a Super Bowl. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't want them to win. I'd love for them to go to the NFC Championship game again and lose, because that'd just be like dangling that carrot above them, right?
Do you know why I'm starting to hate Lions fans? Did you hear on the St. Brown Brothers podcast? Did you see that? Where
oh my god, I absolutely hate Amon
targeting Caleb if he was going out of bounds and faked. It's not like he's doing what Pat Mahomes is doing, where he's faking the going out of bounds and then sneaking for 15 more yards. He saw the defender. I don't remember which defender it was. It was a Kirby Joe. I don't remember who it was.
It was a linebacker.
He was coming up, and Caleb saw he was going to get hit. So he tried to slow up, basically giving himself up. He wasn't trying to sneak around him and go for 10 more yards. He was heading out of bounds. He knew he was going to get hit before out of bounds. So he tried, and the linebacker went straight for his knees. And Caleb addressed it afterwards. Dirty.
Yeah. So all you have to do is just put yourself in someone else's shoes. Imagine if good old Jared Goff with his slow, sorry butt was stumbling to the out of bounds, and that happened to him, right? He's in the middle of a potential MVP season.
Go for his legs.
That's what I'm saying. If Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards did that, those guys would get crucified. So it's just BS.
Yeah, so that's the biggest reason I'm starting to hate Lions this week. Not just the Lions fans, because they're starting to, they used to be fun.
They used to accept that they were losers, and they had some good memes. I'll give that to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But man, imagine a Don Burr. If Don Burr's team won the Super Bowl, he'd be like that
so
spam in the chat that we've had twice. He'd be like, Lions better than the rest. You'd have to ban him.
He already is the spam in the chat where he's.
I know.
What does he say? Detroit against everybody. Detroit versus everybody.
And he's got the Bears media notifications on. Like he's in every live press conference. It's so annoying.
Yeah. But I can never get over Packers fans, though, because they're so delusional. Who was it? Justin Jones last year? Was that who said it before the season started? And he said they're just the stupidest fan base. They don't he was just candor to the whole media saying they're just so dumb. I mean, what do they do up there in Green Bay? They just sit around and they get misinformed and they're just stupid.
Yeah.
I can't stand Packers fans. They're the worst. The absolute. And it
Absolutely.
doesn't help. I actually respect Jared Goff. I think there's way better quarterbacks than Jared Goff, but I respect him.
For him
Jordan
to
Love,
be a cast off and then come back to the level that he is, fine.
Jordan Love he just bothers me with his goofy, gangly, and the way he acts confident. He's not. He's the like when you think of the word goober, that's what I think of when I think of Jordan Love. He's just a goober. Yeah. And I'm not trying to be a bully, but he is just the goober.
Propped up by a fantastic head coach, but it is what it is.
Was it Jack Campbell? That is who it was. You guys are right. Jack Campbell is who it was, the rookie last year. And man, it was Rodman type stuff. Anyways, appreciate you guys in the chat. All you guys who stuck around. We had a little bit of fun here. We had a good time. Karl, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
I'm going to end it. We'll get to Thursday Night Football. I guess we'll root for both of them to suck tonight. Let's just have it be a
root for a tie.
That's fine. 3-3. Let's have a 3-3 win.
Yeah.
Both of them suck.
Yeah.
So appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll see you soon. And until next time, da Bears and bear down.
Bear down.